Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Simple Money Guys podcast, where we make money simple for you. I'm Greg, and as always, I'll be joined by John and Ryan. Join us today as we discuss some of the most essential money tips that'll help you take full control of your financial future. If you haven't yet, please give us a follow on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at The Simple Money Guys, and please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts. It helps us a tremendous amount.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Simple Money Guys podcast, where we make money simple for you. As always, my name is John at Johnny Finance.
I'm Ryan, the Money CEO on social.
And I'm Greg, also known as the Daily Investor. And today we have an exciting episode for you all. We're going to talk a little bit about our plans for retirement, our goals, and just retirement in general. So why don't we just dive right into it? Do you guys want to start by talking about different retirement goals that people could have?
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of interesting topics about retirement. I think retirement in a traditional sense is you work for 40 years and then you retire at 65. You know, that's what all of our parents have done. That's what even our grandparents did. And I think, millennials and Gen Z are really changing that narrative. So it's interesting because personally, my dad, he worked for 35 years at the same company. He got a pension. He got all that like boomer stuff, you know. So
Social Security.
Social Security, yeah, he's going to get that once he hits that age. And so it's interesting how retirement is really flexible. You know, there's different definitions of retirement, and there's different types of retirement. So that traditional retirement is working 30 to 40 years in the same job and then retiring at 65 to live out your golden years. And I think all of us on this show are redefining what retirement really means.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I don't even like, I use it a lot, but I don't even like the word retire. I prefer financial freedom, and you'll have to excuse me. I'm kind of sick today, so I may sound muffled or whatever, but I prefer financial freedom. So what that means is you have, all your investments pay for your expenses, and you no longer need to work. You have complete control of your time, and you work if you want to work. The reason I say that is because I can't retire. I don't think I'll ever be able to retire and just sit down and do nothing. I need to always be doing something. I think that's just my personality. I need to have something that stimulates my mind and something that I can always, be doing, whether that's, something intellectual, something, relaxing, something that I'm doing, right? And so what financial freedom does is it gives you the option to do whatever you want, whenever you want, complete control of your time. And so when I say retire, I really mean financial freedom. So I'll probably keep working for I'll probably keep working forever, right? But I'll be doing whatever I want, whenever I want, without the need for formal employment, right? Mm-hmm. If I want to keep working, at a job, I will, right? So that's what it means to be financially free in my mind.
Yeah, I totally agree there. I think for all of us, we're along the mindset of, get financially free, but never truly stop working. And, that's something I resonate with as well, Ryan. And I think something important to bring up is, how do you reach that goal? How do you reach that point? And something we've all talked a lot about, and for the listeners, you might have heard about this before, is the 4% rule. And essentially what the 4% rule is if you save up X amount of dollars and you keep that in an investment portfolio, if you withdraw 4% every year and can live off of that, your money will never disappear. It'll never dry up. So let's take $1 million, for example. If you have $1 million in your investment portfolio and you're withdrawing 4% every year, that's about $40,000. And of course, that's pre-tax. If you could live on $40,000 and have that cover your expenses, then you are financially free. So that's my metric that I use to gauge my financial freedom. How about you guys? Do you use something similar, something different?
Yeah, so the 4% rule, and just to define it a little bit more for the audience, the reason why we use the 4% rule is because on average, stocks and index funds get, a 7% to 8% return. And if you adjust for inflation, maybe 3 to 4%, that's that like 7% invested minus the 3% inflation equals the 4%, which means you can really live off of 4% in perpetuity. It accounts for inflation and it accounts for investing into the stock market. So I think the 4% rule is a very good rule of thumb to use when looking at traditional retirement. So if you want to live off of $50,000 per year for the rest of your life, you'll need about $1.25 million invested into the stock market. So I think it's a great way to go about early retirement and financial freedom. But with anything, it's flexible. So I think it's a good rule of thumb, as they say.
If you want to learn more about the 4% rule, you can look up the Trinity study. That's where a bunch of finance professors, mathematicians came together. They ran some mathematical models and statistics, and they came up with this. You can look up the Trinity graph, and basically it came down to the 4% rule. I think the assumption was like, I don't know, I think it was like 50% stocks, 50% bonds at the time. Bond yields were pretty high, and it determined that 4% was kind of the sweet spot where you wouldn't run out of money for, I think it was 30 years was the almost, it was a very high probability you wouldn't ever run out of money in 30 years. And you can actually look at that graph too. If you withdraw more, if you withdraw less, how long your money would last given those assumptions. So they kind of ran a probabilistic model. It's pretty cool. If you want to look it up more, you can look up the Trinity study. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a great point. There's a bunch of studies on it, and I think the 4% rule is a great starting point. There's also different ways to reach financial independence or retire early. I think a great one is through real estate, which is if you have a real estate portfolio and you're getting, let's say you have 5 rental properties and you get $500 per month from each rental property, you are getting $2,500 per month. And if you can live off of that, I mean, that's financial freedom right there. So I think financial freedom really comes from living off less. And if you want to start living off more, then you got to have a bigger portfolio of rental properties or index funds. But again, I think someone can reach financial freedom through real estate investing faster than through just index fund investing. That's kind of my opinion. Greg, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the main advantage of owning a rental property is the cash flow you get. Of course, with index fund investing, you're going to get a little bit of dividends, but the ROI on those dividends doesn't quite reach what you would get in real estate. And real estate is a monthly cash flow that you're receiving from your tenants. So it's a huge advantage. And I think when we're talking about retirement, it's all about cash flow. You could have, $2 to $3 million in assets, but if they're not liquid assets and, you're not getting that on a monthly or even bi-monthly basis, it's going to be really difficult to, utilize those $3 million in assets to your benefit. Whereas if you're talking about real estate, you get this instant cash flow while also having an asset that's appreciating in value. So definitely something I agree with, and definitely something I've always seen a huge benefit with real estate for. And like we were saying, it's all about that cash flow for retirement. Ryan, what about you?
Yeah, I think you can definitely get there pretty fast in real estate. I think it's very tough, but you can get there faster. But I think what people forget about too in the stock market is you're going to get there slower, but that compound growth really picks up in the later years. I think it's a little more steady in real estate, but you don't get that type of compound growth that you would in the stock market and real estate too. So I think there's pros and cons there. I think there's kind of the fastest ways truly to get wealthy are, a business and or real estate, which is really like running a business too. I think the fastest way you want to get financially free quickly is increasing your income, right? And most people do that through a business, right? And so if you can generate your income and buy assets, that's the quickest way to do it, whether that's real estate or stock market, right? And so So I think that's ultimately the fastest way to financial freedom, is just getting your income up and then choosing to invest your money that way. So you can do it quickly in real estate. It is a big hassle though. So if your talent really is building businesses, or you're really good at making cars, right? You shouldn't your whole business, or I think you should focus on making cars and invest in index funds, invest the profits in index funds versus learning how to you know, build an build an enormous real estate portfolio, or maybe you do both. But I think the advantage of the stock market and index funds is you don't really have to work at it. Real estate
Right.
really is kind of a job. So I think you got to pick and
Yeah.
choose what you want to do. There's nothing wrong with either one, but I think the key is increase your income, invest that money, and you'll become wealthy.
Yeah, basically you want to take your active income, increase it as much as possible, and then put that into passive income, whether it's through dividends from stocks or rental income from real estate. And Ryan, you've said this before, and I think it's so true that real estate really it's scalable, but to an extent. You can't really go from 1 to 1,000 properties just like that in real estate. Whereas index funds, they're infinitely scalable. You could just put money, keep throwing money into the stock market, and it can turn into $1 billion portfolio, for example. So that's the
Without any of
benefit
your
to
work,
index
really.
funds, exactly, with no
Right.
work. And I think that's a great way to do it if you want to, retire and not have to worry about tenants, not have to worry about whatever roofs collapsing and things like that. So there's pros and cons to each, and I think there's definitely different ways to get to retirement.
So do people buy and hold real estate for 30 years? Because I imagine at that point you're doing multiple big scale repairs. I mean, maybe I don't know enough about it, but I'd imagine you'd probably want to flip and go get a different property at some point. Like you're not buying and holding the same property that long, right?
I mean, for me, I mean, I plan on holding my property for as long as possible. I know that, I have a 30-year mortgage, and, in 30 years, I'll be 55 and I'll have a completely cash flowing real estate or rental property. So, that's going to be financial freedom right there. So I plan on holding for forever. Just that's my strategy on it.
And yeah, Ryan, to your point, I've heard strategies on podcasts such as the Bigger Pockets podcast where certain investors want to only hold on to their properties for maybe 6 to 8 years to avoid those large capital expenditures where they have to, redo an entire roof or, redo the entire sidings of homes and everything. So I think there's a lot of different strategies. John brought up a great point that if you, pay down the mortgage eventually, you're 100% cash flow. And whatever money you're getting from the tenant is all to you, which is huge. And, that's just, depending on what market you live in, potentially, 1,000 to 2,000, maybe even upwards of that per month.
I heard that one.
Sorry, guys. There's a big thunderstorm by me right now, so.
Yeah, so it all depends on your goals, like how active and how passive you want to be. I think real estate and index funds are a great way. I'm using a combination of both to hopefully achieve financial independence. But let's kind of take it into a fun direction. Like, Greg, I want to ask you, what does your quote unquote retirement look like? Like once you're financially free, once you're financially independent, what do you want to wake up and do each day? What's a perfect day for you?
So assuming this is in the later years of my life, this is like the end goal of retirement. Where
The
we were
golden
talking,
years.
The golden years, where we were talking about, if I'm financially free in my 30s, 40s, I want to continue to work. But after that, everyone's got to stop at some point. I just want the freedom to spend time however I want. And, I think this is a point we've brought up a lot where time is your most precious commodity. I want to be able to spend that time with family. I want to be able to travel wherever I want and visit wherever I want. So I think those are a couple of the big things. So I like to, when I'm planning my retirement, start at the end, start with the end goal and then work backwards, sort of reverse engineer my retirement. So if that means I can't get, a $5 million home, then I'm okay with that. If in my later years I'm able to travel and do whatever I want with my life. So sort of figuring it out, while still keeping that end goal in mind is my plan and my approach for retirement.
Yeah, have the end goal in mind. I think that's huge. And just again, time is our most valuable resource. So if you can buy that time back, it's just, so beneficial. You can really do whatever you want. What about you, Ryan? What's retirement look like for you? I know you're not going to stop working, but
I think it means one, no alarm.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
I think just I'm going to have a schedule, but I'm going to, be able to do whatever I want with my time. Like my schedule is my schedule. I control it 100%. I think that's what I'm going to love about it the most is, no one's going to tell me what's on my schedule. I'm going to choose. So that's going to be the best part of it. Work out whenever I want, like what time's best for me. I'm going to, every meal that I set, I'm going to do. I think that no alarm, I pretty much do that now. But I think it's just the no alarm and setting that schedule however I want. It's going to be great. But more than that is traveling whenever I want, having that independence to just pick up and go whenever to wherever, and I think that's going to be the best part of it. It's just time freedom, just not having to depend on anyone. So I think just having that independence in reliance on, yourself is going to be the best part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, being able to do what you want, I think even giving back is a big part of that because you want to, give back your time to either your family, like maybe the community. So I think, being financially independent gives you so many different options in life. And that's why, I'm trying to race towards financial freedom. And so I can, give back my time and just help others and really work on what I want. If I want to work on a YouTube channel, if I want to, work on a podcast, or if I want to travel the world, I can do any of those things. So I think it's really important, and you're really in command of your life rather than having an employer or a boss be in command of your life. So it's definitely that freedom that comes with it.
Yeah.
So do you guys want to do some simple money tips?
Yeah, I think retirement, financial freedom doesn't start when you want it. It starts now. You got to carefully plan ahead of time, figure out what your goals are, and then start planning, carefully plan out how you're going to get there. Create that plan, write it down, create a spreadsheet, figure out what you need to do to get there, right? It's not going to happen by accident. It's not going to happen, automatically at some age. Even if you wait till 65, it's not just going to happen. It doesn't just happen at that age. So you need to carefully plan. Do you have a date? Do you have a number? And figure out what those are, and then create a plan to get there. And if you don't do that, you're not going to get there, or you're going to fall short. So my biggest advice is just come up with a plan and then figure out what you need to do to actually get there.
Yeah, it's kind of like keeping the end in mind, like Greg was saying too.
Yeah.
And if you don't plan for your retirement, it doesn't just happen, like you said. It's not going to just appear once you turn 65. So those are great points. I think, my simple money tip would be to, when I first found out about financial independence, I was like, I need to become financially independent as soon as possible. And that meant sacrificing a lot of things. I sacrificed some, relationships and events and some of my time to become financially independent as fast as I could. And so I think there's a balance between those. You want to enjoy your life. Like, I started spending on concerts and spending on some things that I actually enjoy. So it's all a balance. And, you don't want to cut everything and be miserable, but then you also don't want to spend over your means. So I would just say, keep a balance, keep a monthly budget, and make sure you're on the right track without depriving yourself too much. So.
Yeah, for sure. My simple money tip, kind of similar to yours. As I was saying before, always keep that, end picture in mind of what your retirement looks like. And that could change over time. If you're 20 right now, your retirement might not look the same as when you're 35 and married. So just keep an open mind. It might be changing. And, as John was saying, it's fun to picture the retirement and it's fun to know where you want to get, but you really need to enjoy the journey to that point. Otherwise, you're not really living life. So yes, retirement's great and it's what we all aim to, reach, but it's not life. Life is the journey to retirement, in my opinion. What's the climb? It's the climb, guys. There's always going to be another.
It's the climb. Yeah, it is all about the journey. Like the destination is not the end all be all. It's really about enjoying your life and spending it with who you love. So that's always what we preach on.
Yeah, and to build off of what you were saying before, there was a time where I was trying to save and invest all my money, and anytime I would go, out with friends to a concert or something, I would be mad that I was spending money to enjoy life, and that's not that you can't live life like that. So
right.
You have
balance.
Sure. You have to find that balance, as John was saying. So yeah. I think that wraps us up though for this week. We had a lot of fun talks on retirement. As always, we are the Simple Money Guys, making money simple for you. I'm Greg, also known as the Daily Investor.
My name's John at Johnny Finance.
I'm Ryan, the Money CEO on social. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again next episode.
Thank you everybody for listening. As always, give us a follow on Instagram at The Simple Money Guys, subscribe to us on YouTube, and be sure to tune in because we have new episodes coming every week.